YouTube, it's your boy fplcommunity, and I'm back here with a brand new video. And today I've got for you my game week 36 team review, as well as my game week 37 team selections and some transplants. I'm also going to be covering the best forwards to buy going into this week, as well as the best captaincy for game week 37. So without further ado, let's dive in. So there you have it for game week 36. Your boy had total 58 points. My all rank was 1000 in the world. I'm currently 1.2k. Um, Unfortunately, a red arrow on a free hit. As you guys know, I did have my free hit active for game week 36, which I have saved for a double game week. And unfortunately, there was no double game week. So I had to use it in a single game week due to the fact that there were a lot of players that I would have liked to own in going into that week that I didn't have. The likes of De Bruyne, Haaland, as well as Eze, and even the Brentford attack. Unfortunately, I got a red arrow on a free hit. There are quite a few things that went wrong, which I'll get into. But one thing I've always said is that there is no such thing as guaranteed green arrow, even if you're on a chips such as TC or even bench boost or even free hit. And this is just further proof. There's nothing guaranteed in life, and I've been consistent with that. Was I expecting a red arrow? Absolutely not. I was expecting to get a potentially a big green arrow, considering the fact that I had so many differentials. But at the same time, I went against the field quite heavily, considering the fact that I'm quite highly ranked. Maybe that wasn't so wise. I should have potentially maybe stick with a little bit more template and have a bit of a balance. But again, as you guys can see, I did captain Erling Haaland, which was a bit of a differential. I mean, really differential, to be honest. When you look at the Mbeumo's ownership, he's 164% owned, and his captaincy was ridiculously high, right? So he did hurt me with what, extra 4 points, whereas Haaland only got 2 points and he blanked versus Southampton. I mean, when you have a triple city versus Southampton and they don't score a single goal, the likes of KDB and Haaland, I mean, I guess that's a skill issue, right? But look, all jokes aside, it was quite disappointing from City. The fact that they're going for top five and they have not been able to break down Southampton when they've faced low blocks many times before. My rationale behind captaining Haaland was the fact that, look, he's coming back from injury. He wants to maybe come with a bang and score a few goals and get his rhythm back up for the FA Cup final that's coming up. And there's also KDB, and City also looked in good form and they were scoring a lot of goals. So I thought it was a good combination and that he would do well. And again, Southampton was statistically going into the game week 36 was the worst team in the Premier League history. If KDB and Haaland can't score versus Southampton, which is known as the worst team in the Premier League history, what more can you do? It's just unlucky, I guess. But yeah, and then secondly, double Forest defense, which another thing that went significantly wrong in my favor. Unfortunately, I won with the two fullbacks, expecting maybe even if they don't keep a clean sheet, that I'll get an attack and return. Nor did they keep a clean sheet, nor did they go any attack and returns. And the guy I was, really highly likely to start, and my gut said to start was Munoz. He ended up getting a clean sheet as well as an attack and return, and he's owned by 65% of the managers around my rank. That decision alone could have taken me to a red to a green arrow. As you guys can see, my safety was 61 points. Whereas if I had Munoz starting instead of, say, for example, Ola Aina, I would be on 10 points green arrow, right? I'll be probably on something like 70 something points. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and I did make a last minute decision, which costed me. And anytime I've made a last minute changes to my team this season has costed me. So it's just one thing to learn and improve on moving forward. One thing did go in my favor though is the fact that I did pick a 3.9% on differential in Sade, who scored a goal and came up with all three bonus points. So that was huge. And he potentially saved me from a massive red arrow, essentially, because of that big hole, as well as Eze, of course, which he was always locked on my free hit. But I did have some doubts about starting Sade ahead of Elanga, but that worked out in my favor. And then Wissa was quite disappointing. He's only got 1 point. He got yellow card in the game. And obviously Mbeumo, I didn't want him to do too well. So I'm glad he's only got an assist. He could have got much more in that game. So yeah, it was really hard to watch that game. And lastly, the goalkeeper, I was not a fan of Leno. Again, that was a last minute decision I've made. I should have just kept Sales and started Munoz. That was my biggest regret. So it is what it is. We only gone down to around 200 red arrow. Could have been much worse. Now let's look forward to game week 37 and look at what are the potential transfer plans for my team. So for game week 37, as you guys can see, I have 1 free transfers. I have no money in the bank, and I'm looking to bring in Ollie Watkins And the only place I could do it is by downgrading Isak to bring in Watkins, who does face Tottenham at home, whereas Isak is Arsenal away, followed with Everton at home. I do think on paper Isak has two difficult fixtures, although they're going for top five. The fixtures don't exactly scream too many goals to me, so I'm looking at the likes of Ollie Watkins, who does have Tottenham as well as United for game week 38. Not only that, Watkins is also a captaincy shout for me this week, considering the fact that he'll be playing a heavily rotated Spurs team, who has been obviously losing for fun as of recently, and they're rotating heavily for the Europa League final. I think the turnaround is around 3 to 4 days before they play at United. So if you look at the stats for Ollie Watkins below, in the last 4 games that he played, you can see versus Bournemouth, he's got 9 points, played 90 minutes. Versus Fulham, he's quite disappointing. He got early subbed around 70 minutes. But again, his numbers look pretty decent. He's got 0.38 XGI versus Bournemouth. The numbers for Fulham were not great, but still 0.22. And then Man City, he got only appearance from the bench, 14 minutes. And Newcastle, however, he did play quite really well at home. Again, if you look at his home fixtures, he does really well. He's got a double-digit hole, 12-pointer, and his XGI was 0.51, which is great. So that means he's heavily involved and getting a lot of big chances. So look, ultimately it's a risk when you saw Isak, but I don't really have any other ways to bring him in my team as I don't have any funds. And I also already have Saka and Salah, so it's hard to find the money in other premiums unless I sacrifice the likes of Isak. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Now let's move on to my game week 37 team selection. So for game week 37, I'm currently lining up with Raya, who's got Newcastle at home. I've got Guardiola with Bournemouth and Nico Williams with West Ham away, and Eight Nori, who's got Palace away. My backline does not look too strong at all. They all have somewhat tough fixtures. The only good fixtures I can probably argue is probably maybe for Nico Williams with West Ham away. But the way Bowen has been playing as of recently and the way Forest have been defending, I wouldn't even call that a great fixture either. On the other hand, 8 Nori does play Palace away. The only good thing going for me there is that the Palace will play Wolves 3 days after they play the FA Cup final versus Man City, so which could be a positive, especially if they win, they could be drunk, and even if they lose, they may be fatigued. So that way, potentially Wolves can get a result. And then you got Guardiola Bournemouth at home. I don't see a clean sheet there because I feel like Bournemouth have been a bit of a bogey team for City this season. I think Bournemouth did beat them in the reverse fixture. So could I see a clean sheet there? Probably not. But if he does play the left back role, I do see him bombing forward and potentially maybe getting an assist or a goal. But again, can't complain too much. My other two defenders, Trippier, who's got Arsenal away, tough fixture. And then you got Konate, who's got Brighton away. I'm not even sure if he's going to start. Liverpool are literally on the beach. We've seen footage of Salah, Soboslai, Trent, the whole Liverpool squad, to be honest. They're in Dubai on the beach, they're enjoying life. I'm not even sure if they're going to be out for this game, which is highly likely. And yeah, he's a no-go for me. I don't think he will start personally. So yeah, this is how I'm lining up for the back line. And in the midfield, you got, again, as I said, Salah, who's literally on the beach. And he's got Brighton, which is a good fixture, but he's literally on the beach. We're seeing him on the swimming pool, enjoying having drinks, right? So yeah, not a captain shot for me, but I think he will start and maybe get something. But again, I'm not expecting too much from him. And then you got Jared Bowen, Forest at home. It would have been a tough fixture on paper considering how Forest have defended the whole season. But as of recently, they've been conceding goals for fun, so I can see Bowen getting something. So even if Nico Williams doesn't keep a clean sheet, hopefully Bowen comes away with something. And then you got Mbimo Fulham at home. I do think it's a good fixture for him. Brentford have been, scoring tons of goals at home, and I'm quite sure he'll be quite highly captain as well, considering the fact that he's playing at home and his form has been amazing. And then you got Saka, Newcastle at home. I do like this fixture for Saka, and this is what I did actually, keep him in my team when a lot of people were selling for the likes of KDB. So I'm glad I still have him, and I will have him for game week 38 when he does play Southampton. This week, though, I do think he could be a captaincy option, which I'll get into in the next section where I cover the captaincy choices. In the forward position, you've got Cunha, Ollie Watkins, Marmoush. Cunha is a bit concerning because he did get early sub in the last game. He got subbed around 59 minutes, and he got a yellow card. However, I don't think Bellegarde is that good, to be honest. So I do see Cunha starting, but I don't think he gets 90. But again, if he gets any return, he gets all bonus points. So I'm happy to start him versus Palace away, which is a pretty decent fixture considering the fact that Palace might rotate and they may be fatigued or drunk, one or the other. And then my new transfer in would be Ollie Watkins. As I said, he does have the captaincy armband currently, but that could change. I also fancy Saka as well as Bowen, as I said. But yeah, which we'll cover in the next slide. Look, Tottenham at home, great fixture. They're going to be again rotating as well. They want to save their players for the Europa League final versus United. So these are the players that I'm looking to buy. especially those playing the likes of Tottenham and Palace, who will be prioritizing other competitions. So yeah, look, I think it's a great buy, although I'm taking a risk on the field with not having Isak for the next 2 game weeks, which is a bit risky. But again, I'm willing to take that. I think Watkins can cover him. And I have no other ways to get him. Like I already have like the likes of Salah, Saka, and Watkins, and all the premiums and Bimo, Bowen. So yeah. And then last but not least, you got Marmoush, who did get benched for Southampton. I think he was due a rest. He played a ton of minutes recently, but I think he will start Bournemouth considering the fact that he's already had his rest. And the turnaround might be a bit short, but still, I don't see him not starting because they still need the top five, and they didn't look too good without him on the pitch. And when he did come on, he had some of the best chances of the game. He hit the post the minute he came on, so I do see him playing well with alongside Haaland, and hopefully he starts. And on the bench, you got Verbruggen, who's got Liverpool at home. I don't like that fixture for him personally, so I'll be putting him on the bench. And then you got Trippier, Arsenal away. He did pick up an injury and he did not feature versus Chelsea in the last game. I hope that he'll be back for game week 38, as I do like that Everton fixture for him. And then you got Konate, as I said, he's on the bench, so I'm not going to be starting him. I don't even know if he will start. And then you got Murphy, Arsenal away. I do not like that fixture for the attackers. So yeah, that's how I'm lining up for game week 37. Share your thoughts in the comment section below and let me know what your transfers are. Now let's move on to game week 37 captaincy. So for game week 37 captaincy, these are the short lists. Shout out to my boy Thinking Cap, who did share this graphic. Do check out his channel. He does do the captaincy ranking every week, and you can decide based on his analysis which is the best captain. And he does provide a really good justification for why he does think who is the best captain. So I got this graphics from him. So shout out to him. Make sure to go, subscribe and whatnot. At first, you got Saka, Newcastle at home. He's got non-penalty XGI per 90, 0.72. He's keeping up with Salah. As you guys can see, Salah has the same numbers. Newcastle have considered XGC of 45, and funny enough, they also considered 45 goals. So they're kind of keeping up with their numbers. And then you got Salah with Brighton away. Look, he would be a great captain shout this week, and I think he would have been a template captaincy shout if only they were on the pitch and if there was something to play for. Unfortunately, they have nothing left to play for. So Brighton away, although it's a good fixture, and I do not rate their defense at all, and he would have probably had my captaincy this week if I wasn't to see all these pictures that are coming out from Dubai and Ibiza of Slot celebrating, with Salah celebrating, they're on the swimming pool having drinks, literally on the beach, guys. So I don't know how much he's gonna be up for this game, although he's chasing for his assist and goal records. But yeah, I'm not too keen there. And then he got Palmer with United at home. He's got decent numbers, although he has not had an open play goal for the last 2 or 3 months. God knows how long. Like 0.65 non-penalty XGI. And then Manchester United, we've been considering a lot of goals. Look, our expected goal considered is 54. We've considered 53. So we're also keeping up with the numbers. So yeah, it's a good captain's shout, I think, because we're going to be also heavily rotating, because I believe that Euro as well as Delete will not be traveling for this game. We're resting for Europa League final. So we will not be playing exactly our first team. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if we pull off a result. And that's what Amarim team does. Like, we pull off results where we don't expect it. And would I be shocked if we come up with a draw or something like that versus Chelsea? I wouldn't be, because Chelsea can be hit and miss, and they're missing Jackson as well. I do think that's a big factor for Palmer captaincy, though, especially when Jackson is not there. Palmer's saving does reduce, and the link and play is not there. So I'm not too big fan of that captaincy shout. I'll still probably prefer Saka ahead of both Salah and Palmer this week. And then last but not least, the main man, Ollie Watkins, who obviously, if you guys saw my last team selection slide, he does have my captaincy armband currently. With the road to the Spurs, who's missing key players like Heung-min Son, Kulusevski, Madison. I believe Son came off the bench to get some rhythm in, but I'm not sure if he's going to start versus Villa. And I highly doubt that they're going to play the first team, considering they have Europa League final in 3 to 4 days. So look, his numbers are great. 0.56 XGI per 90 for a striker. That's really good. And Tottenham has conceded 61 XGC, and they've conceded 59 goals this season. So when you're looking at this list, they've considered the most goals out of all the teams that's listed above. I do like Ollie Watkins as my number one option for captaincy this week. As I said, Villa also play really well at home, especially Ollie Watkins. And the way Tottenham play the high line, my goodness. I feel like both Rodgers as well as Watkins could fist in this game. So yeah, this is it, boys. I'm currently on Ollie Watkins. If I was to have change of heart, I would go to Saka. And my third best captain will probably be Palmer. Let's now move on to the next slide, which will cover which teams are actually on the beach, as which team have something to play for, and what team to target to buy players as well as to play against them. So as you guys can see, on the left-hand side, I did highlight the teams that have something to play for. The likes of Arsenal, Aston Villa, they're highlighted in green. And you can see that they are playing for Champions League, okay, top 5. The likes of Forest, Newcastle, Man City, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Arsenal. Like there is not that many teams that have something significant to play for, except the team that I've listed. So around 6 teams that are fighting for top five. In terms of who will get it, listen, it will go down to the wire. It might be, depending on goal difference. I really don't know who's gonna get the top five. My outside shout would be probably Villa, because I do feel like they have the best fixtures on paper in terms of they're taking advantage of Spurs, obviously being in Europa League final as well as United. So I do see maybe Villa sneaking in and getting that top five ahead of Chelsea. But again, look, Chelsea does have a tough fixture, especially when they have to play Forest in the last game. So that could be a decider as well. So yeah, in terms of the players to buy, look, I think Rodgers, if you're looking for midfielders, like it's a really good entry point with Tottenham. In terms of like Bournemouth assets, they're also good. They're also playing for Europa League positions in the table. They also have Leicester in game week 38. The likes of Van Olsen, Semenyo. Clive got a bench last game week, so I'm not sure if he's a buy, considering the fact that he may be rotation risk now. So yeah, I'll probably prioritize Evan Olsen and Semenyo ahead of him. And then from the City, obviously KDB is going to play his last home game. If you do believe in any sort of fairy tale story, then probably you want to invest in that. But again, I'm not too big fan of him. And then you got obviously Jamie Vardy, who will not play, by the way. There was news that he will not play in game week 38. And his last home game will be versus Ipswich. So if you're looking for a 1 week punt, Jamie Vardy is a really good shot this week with Ipswich at home. I know they don't have much to play for, but there is this sentimental tax. So if there is on the bitch team to target, maybe it's Jamie Vardy from Leicester. But look, it's a punt. And then you got your Forest boys. If you have Wood, I'll probably keep because they have something to play for. Same with the Newcastle boys. They also have something to play for. Look, if you don't have to sort Isak to get Watkins, I don't think you can keep him and he could do really well. Just because I sold him doesn't mean that he's not going to score at all. There's good enough chance that he could score. And Arsenal have been considering a lot of goals to strikers as of recently. And the prime example is Evan Nilsson. Like he had a really good game versus them and he scored as well. So yeah, Isak could just as well really do well versus Arsenal. But again, I need to buy Ollie Watkins because I would want to captain him. So I'm willing to back against Isak. And then, to be honest, the other teams like the likes of obviously Ipswich, Everton, they don't really have much to play for. But yeah, look, these are the teams you want to probably buy from, the ones that I highlighted in green. And the teams that obviously with the graph sign and they're fighting for league position, no, they're not really fighting on the pitch probably. You want to target your players to play against them. So yeah, let's now move on to the best forwards to buy for game week 37. So when you're looking at the best forwards for game week 37, you got the likes of obviously a Wood. I would say even Wissa is a buy. I would say even Haaland if you have the money, but I probably wouldn't go there. And Watkins and Evan Nilsson. Like Evan Nilsson, like Bournemouth, they have Leicester in game week 38. Although there's a tough fixture in game week 37 when they play City, but obviously for 38, I think Evan Nilsson is a really good buy. And then Marmoush, if you have, I think he's a keep. Like the Cunha, I think he could still be a buy personally because I think anytime he gets a return, it's like a freaking all 3 bonus points, and his fixtures are not too bad as well. So those are my priority list on which forwards to buy. I'll go Watkins 1, I'll go Evan Nilsson 2, I'd go Wissa 3rd, and Wood 4th. I might put even Wood actually slightly ahead of, for this week, I'll probably have Wood and Cunha ahead of Evan Nilsson simply because he's playing City. But again, he could score for City. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Make sure to smash the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe. And I'm going to see you guys next week. Peace out.